Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's June 16th, 2022 meeting of Somerville's Urban Forestry Committee. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and various other emergency declarations, we're holding this meeting by remote participation. We will take minutes and publish audio video of it on the city website as soon as we possibly can. We're going to start off with introductions and housekeeping, and I see that we have two attendees who are not committee members. What we usually do here, and we've never had a problem with it, so we're developing good confidence, is we promote attendees to be panelists so that you can see each other and potentially join us on camera. We're still going to go through the agenda in the order that it's in, but we found no benefit to keeping our small number of attendees sort of locked up in the attendee space. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute both of you and then promote both of you, and then we'll go through introductions all together. Panelist, yes. And Crystal, unfortunately, I cannot promote you because you are connected only to audio. If you would like to be promoted, you can join via the app, and otherwise you're the only attendee and you're unmuted.
I'm on the app, I swear. I'm on the Wi-Fi on the app. I will figure it out. I will be back.
Cool. So we're going to go through introductions first, and as is best practice, please also include your pronouns. I will start. I'm Chris Dwan. I am one of the two co-chairs. I am a local activist. I am very into developing a sustainable urban canopy and a connected ecosystem for the city so that we can keep getting better and better over time. I will go, as always, in order by first name. I use he, him pronouns. I will go in order by first name to Amy Myrtle. If you could please introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, my name is Amy. I use she, they pronouns. I am a member of the committee. I'm interested in, well, my background is in insect community ecology. So I'm interested in thinking about how our trees support insect communities, which then support the things that eat insects like birds and mammals. And then also, I'm also interested in public health and the relationship with trees, public health, air quality, those kind of things. So thank you.
All right. And then Anne Ryan, you are our promoted panelist. And if you don't want to introduce yourself, you're not obligated, but you are certainly welcome. We don't hear you if you are speaking. All right, we will return to Anne. And if you want to speak, just speak up or raise the little hand icon. Next up is Breck Miller.
Hi, everybody. My name is Breck Miller, he, him. I am the city tree warden. I've been working in Somerville since January. And generally speaking, I oversee most of the maintenance of mature trees in the city.
Thank you. Connor Guidarelli.
Hi, everyone. Connor Guidarelli. I'm a certified horticulturalist and arborist. I work at the Arnold Arboretum in JP. Really love being on the committee to make the city greener and more vibrant for everybody here. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Then Crystal Huff, if you are willing to speak and introduce yourself, you are unmuted.
Hello, my name is Crystal. My pronouns are they, them. I am a local resident, and I also am making the city greener one bucket at a time. In particular, I keep forgetting to tell this committee, one of my main projects is working as a coordinator for Mutual Aid of Medford and Somerville Gardening Collective. I'm one of the founding members, and we've been building, I think we now have 22 mutual aid gardens between Somerville and Medford. And so I'm just remembering to say that. All right, thanks.
Thank you. And Jennifer Clifford.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Clifford. I'm a resident of Somerville. I use the she series pronouns, and I have a background in plant pathology. I'm interested in plant health. I'm interested in growing and maintaining a healthy, sustainable urban canopy for the city. And I'm also very interested in engaging our community to help us with these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Leah Grossman.
Hi everyone, my name is Leah Grossman. I'm a landscape architect in Boston, and I'm excited about diversifying our use of native species and trees and shrubs in Somerville. And I'm losing my voice a little bit, so I'm going to keep all my comments brief tonight. Not for lack of enthusiasm.
Well, do what you need to protect the asset. Vanessa Bukili.
Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa Bukili, Senior Urban Forestry and Landscape Planner for the city. Love trees and all plants and green stuff and helping to make Somerville as green as possible. I do see we also have Ann Ryan here on video if we want to circle back.
Ann Ryan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I figured it out. So I am a Somerville resident. I've been here 14 years. I live at Cobble Hill, and I am eager for it to remain the park that it now is. That's my current focus. We have lots of trees.
So our second agenda item is resident concerns, and we always put those first. So let's talk about that in a little more detail then. And then last but never least is Tori Antonino.
Hi, Tori Antonino, she, they. I am an ecological landscaper here in Somerville, and I like to come to people's yards, rip out the lawn, put in native plants, and leave the leaves and all that good stuff that the city is now doing an amazing job of. Just want to give a shout out to those beautiful bioswales along Somerville Ave. They're looking amazing, and just here to help Somerville be a vibrant, ecological, restorative, regenerative place.
All right, thank you. And nobody else has joined. I don't see anybody else. Did I miss anybody? Cool. So now onward to resident concerns. Let's start with Ann and Cobble Hill. I believe that is where there's the proposed public safety building.
That is correct. Yes.
All right. And go ahead.
Well, there's such a range of conversation going on, but I am focusing mainly on preserving the existing berms, which are probably soil remediation, but they are very beautiful, and the many, many trees that surround Cobble Hill. And were the city to use the plan that it first showed to us last August, we would lose our berms and we would lose a good 75 trees. And parking space would mean that other areas of the park would be leveled to create the parking spaces that are proposed to be lost if the public safety building goes forward. So my focus, I'm trying to stay focused on how to do everything I can to support the value of what exists to the city of Somerville. And so I just found out about iTree. So I'm beginning to see how I could roughly monetize the value of what is there now, so that we as tenants would be prepared to speak about its value, its actual financial value as is, and in advancing combating climate change. I'll stop there.
No, I'm glad that you're here, and I think so. One thing to share is that on January 20th, this committee wrote a memo, which is part of the extent of our power. We don't actually have any judicial or legislative power directly. We're tasked to advise, and we wrote a summary where broadly we agreed that
wow.
it's an incredible resource of the city, and I'm happy to throw this in an email to you or put it in, I don't know, Vanessa, if you were able to put that in the document space, or it's probably on the city website actually, where we did a bit of the work that you describe.
Oh,
and
wow, that's fabulous.
Yeah, it's an incredible local resource. I know members of the committee did go down and take a site walk as well.
Yes, I remember meeting several.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. I'll throw it open. Does anybody else want to speak to those trees? Go ahead, Vanessa.
Thanks. And I know we spoke yesterday, was it? But just today, I did hear actually from the capital projects team that they're looking into getting more detailed information about the trees. So sort of separately looking towards doing that, you know, apart from what even you and I had discussed, maybe in more detail. So I think iTree is still a great resource for you to explore, but it's possible we can provide a lot of that information from the city before anything moves forward. So I don't want you to have to duplicate efforts there. Just wanted to mention that.
Great. I really want to read this statement. I'm thrilled by it.
Yeah, I just would note that, or sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, wasn't trying to raise my hand thing. Thanks, Anne, for coming back. This is Amy. Thanks, Anne, for coming back and reminding us about this. I admit I've kind of it's kind of fallen off my radar since we wrote this memo, but thanks for reminding us to keep following up with it and see what's happening. So if there are any updates on it, Vanessa, beyond what you just said, I would be interested in hearing it too.
You know, there's going to be a meeting, a community meeting, is that what you were going to say, Tori, in a couple weeks.
Yeah, go ahead, Tori. You are on mute, my friend.
Around the public safety building. Awesome. Anne, I just want to thank you for being here. And, you know, we received your letter in December or January, and Amy Myrtle is the main author of this piece. So I think you were instrumental in bringing attention to this issue. And just from what I understand, that there's kind of a pause right now on the public safety, a reassessment on the public safety building or public amenity space. So I think this is a good time to re-examine it. I think it would make sense to have this on our next agenda, because we will have had the community, you know, the community meeting, and maybe we'll have some more information. Because I think we should start just getting this in discussion, because it's a big redevelopment. It's a big community asset. So, or whenever, you know, Chris, whenever we feel it most timely. So yeah, that's all. And Anne, I hope, you know, I know you and the Cobble Hill residents are, you know, talking about preserving and keeping. And I was wondering if some of these berms, like, you could get behind, like, enhancing, like, instead of just grass, like doing some meadows and shrubbery and making it more like a living landscape. Because I think we can, you know what I'm saying? Like, instead of just the grass that you mow all the time, you actually get sung to sleep by crickets, you know? And so anyway, look, thanks for being here. It's really good to see you.
some of that land is now owned by the city, so that the possibility of transitioning to more local plants and things like that, since it now belongs to the city, is a possibility. I think engaging tenants in that process would be a very useful thing to do.
Hit the nail on the head, engaging the residents.
All right. Sorry, did I see another hand there? Connor.
All right, I'm gonna need some help from either Vanessa or Chris. I sent you a picture regarding this one, so if you'd be able to, I don't know how to share the screen. Am I able to do that, or
If
I
you
emailed
want
it to you?
Screen, you emailed it to me.
Yes,
Let me.
should be recent, like just now.
Yep.
But while you're finding that, Chris and I received an email from Marion Davis, who had reached out to us a couple months ago asking for different resources for what kind of tree species to plant and whatnot. And Marion lives over at 10 Cross Street Place, and they have a condo nearby that abuts Royce Place. So these two dead-end streets that meet together. And I'll just read the email to you all. Let's see here. Recently realized that the condo behind our house has 2 red maple saplings planted right next to the fence that abuts our property. My first reaction, I'm skipping over some things. These are really big. My neighbor checked, and sure enough, it says for you. She said the developer planted these trees on the city's advice. And so her concern is, I'm not super keen on having 2 40 to 50 foot red maples right against our fence and one within at most 5 feet of our foundation. And our questions are, is this really what the city is recommending? And if so, presuming it's physically possible, is the city okay with the property owners pruning the trees regularly to try and keep them at a smaller size? She loves trees and whatnot, but she's very concerned about the situation. So I stopped by, she gave us her address, so I was able to swing by this morning on my way to work and just snap a photo real quick to try and get an idea of what she's talking about. And you can see there that these red maples are planted right on the fence line to the property and whatnot. And I'm not too sure all the specifics about how this came about. I don't know if the redevelopment, because it's obviously a new development or refurbishing, so they may have taken out a tree and then they had to plant new ones, but they really aren't cited well at all for this kind of tree species. There are no overhead power lines, so I think any tree species of a certain size will do, but I'm bringing it up to the committee to see what y'all's advice would be as well, or what should be said going to Marion in this situation. What sort of actions can be done to prevent this from happening with redevelopments or whatnot? I'm not suggesting that the city would have recommended to plant the trees in that location, but what could be done to be clearer to developers for where to plant trees so that the planting of the tree doesn't end up just them removing the tree anyways because of failed planting. So
yeah.
Thanks.
I can start the conversation. Where, I don't know if you could say again where this was, but let me just speak generally to the process. I don't know who in the city would have said plant a tree exactly here. Generally, what we do is provide feedback. We do have to review properties for green score compliance, but we don't tell them what they have to do. We just assess what they have proposed and make sure it meets green score requirements. And I do review some of those and sometimes mention species that won't work because they've put full sun species in shady conditions or something like that. But I wouldn't say, oh, move the tree right to the corner of the fence line. So I think there may be some miscommunication there of who or how the tree got placed right there. I don't know what to do about this going forward, but I don't think that kind of information comes specifically from the city.
Okay.
I would have put the tree right in the middle of those two doorway things. I don't know.
Yes,
That seems like the obvious choice.
I agree. So I guess what I was gonna also recommend to Marion was that they could talk to their neighbor and see about getting them resited on the property, perhaps changing out the one red maple near the driveway for a smaller stature cultivar understory plant, and moving the other red maple that's closer to the foundation more center lot, so it can take up that full canopy space and whatnot, or just moving both of them further in, so the red maple is in that more open green strip area. But I guess there's no real recourse though. Because my worry is that the developer put them there knowing that it's going to be a fail or a problem, so that then they just have to be removed, so then they can have their treeless lot if that's really what they're wanting. So that's the angle. If this is that's the sinister angle. I hope it's not that. I hope it's just an uninformed position for why they're planted there. So, okay.
I tend to think that it's usually a ignorance, not sinister, but you know, there are two sides to the coin.
That's been my experience as well. Is I usually assume ignorance rather than malice. But I mean, now the developer did the property on the side of the fence where you're standing?
Yeah, so where I'm standing is, I'm going to try and pull up the address. It's on Royce Place.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it is, looks like, that's not the right street. I'm trying to get onto Google Streets to take a look at it, but I don't know if it's 1-3 or could have been an empty lot that was recently built out, but it's not letting me go down the alley to get to take a look at it. But it's off of Royce Place, that this property that I took a picture of. So I'm assuming Marion's is the one in the background.
Okay.
The house on the other side of the street, other side of the fence.
So I mean, I guess in the extreme, like, and I totally defer to Vanessa on this. Like, if it's not appropriate to get involved, then don't. But would it be appropriate at all to reach out to the developer owner and say, hey, I'm a pretty experienced person in this space and I don't think that's going to work out at all. Can you move it?
Generally, no, we try not to get involved. Well, we don't get involved in like neighborhood disputes with trees. It's like a bit hard like lines now, because we are involved in the green score review and we are involved in, you know, private tree removals, but then we don't get involved in all the other private tree stuff. So it would be very out of place and out of character for me to reach out and address this.
Yeah, so I guess
unless it was somehow permitted by us, like through private tree removal or green score.
I don't remember anything on Royce Place coming up in Malik's spreadsheet. But like, if they had put in a plan for that, you guys would have said no.
Again, we don't usually, it's always hard to tell because of what we're given, first of all, so we don't necessarily know the context of all of where the trees go, but we're mostly just trying to follow the letter of the law. So if you're removing trees, are you replacing the right number of caliper inches? If for green score, are you properly calculating your green score and meeting the requirement?
All right. Well, that is a very, very reasonable position. And so, Connor, let's you and I write back and
Okay.
kind of say we brought it up. I mean, my inclination is to just write back and say we talked it through. Yeah, that's a bogus location. It's not appropriate for the city staff, given that they're on the other side of that fence, so to speak, to intervene. But yeah, just suggesting that those trees are badly placed and see if the owner wants to have a tree there or not. Like, because over time, I agree that's not a sustainable location. Go ahead, Tori.
So I just wanted to look, I was gonna look up the permit. What is it again, Royce?
Royce Place. I don't have an
Okay,
address,
Royce Place.
but it's the number.
I can just
but-
type in Royce, it should give me. I mean, usually when a developer comes to the planning board with with their renderings, there's a full landscape, there's a full landscape done, and usually locations are part of it. So I'm gonna look it up. But I'm interested in, I don't know, make suggestions. Like I think I'd love to be on the thread with Chris and Connor.
Right.
If I can, just about like, yeah, advising perhaps what they can plant, and maybe like I think they should talk to the developers. And anyway, yeah, I'd love to be included in that.
Okay. We'll throw you on
That'd be
CC.
great, yeah.
Not a lot we can do with force, but yeah, I agree. Taking a look, and if they're, oh, go ahead, Jennifer. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was thinking while Tori's looking that up, I was thinking about what we can do moving forward to try to suspend any of this kind of activity, and we do have that letter to the developer that I think the tree species group put together. Perhaps in the future, if we can get ahead of this, if we could add a sentence or two about basic strategies for planting, how you would want a certain amount of space, or even just to say, don't plant next to a fence, don't plant next to a foundation, just some simple guidelines. I mean, we want to invite them to come and engage with us. And if they do, we can discuss these sorts of things. But in that initial mailing that we send out, perhaps we can include, we're happy to talk about tree species and planting, and please contact us for that, and that sort of thing, just to try to prevent this from happening in the future.
Yeah, that sounds right. Go ahead, Tori. Sorry.
Is it 5, Royce?
Could be.
I'm looking at the plans, and there are trees located right next to the fences. So that means it did get approval with the city, if it is 5 Royce Place. If not, then that's not the case. But I'll try to share it in the link so you guys can see.
All right. Yeah. So I feel like we've kind of done what we can here. Let's have an email thread that is sub forum, and kind of I very much like Jennifer's idea of having some advice, potentially even in a document that we have on the web and we share with developers, just around best practices. It seems obvious to all of us, but maybe it feels like a good idea to have trees right next to a fence if you're just kind of doing that. I don't know. Anyway, some positive advice would at least mitigate the possibility of ignorance, and then we're left only with malice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm happy to draft a little something and send it. Who would like to receive that? I don't know who did. I don't recall who put that together initially. Tori, I thought maybe it was you, but I don't recall.
We have an official document that gets sent out to developers. I don't remember who wrote it either. I feel like Tori was definitely on there.
Yeah, we can just
I'll take
formulate.
a look at it.
Yeah, but I'm happy to, to just put a little something together and send it your way, and you can fix it up and put it in however you see fit.
And then if we do want to send it out as a committee, we should make sure we all approve.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, if it's the guidance from the committee, and I don't remember if we ever voted on that original guidance doc. We must have.
I think we did. Yes, I'm sure we did.
I love updating our guidance. All right. Well, good. We've got a little work to do. Are there other resident concerns? I'm looking at the rest of the agenda and thinking we should probably get on to the real agenda, but other resident concerns. Amy, I see you.
Yes, I'll have one. I have one. I'll try to do it quickly though. I just wanted to mention this, the city website on invasive species. I'm going to put it in the chat. Hopefully I'm doing it the right way that people can see it. This came up in working with some other residents to do some invasive plant removals and looking for resources and that we could direct people to find, what species in the area should be invasive. And the city has this web page about plants that they recommend residents remove, but it's kind of a strange mix of plants. Some of them are obviously invasives, some of them are non-native plants that aren't invasive, and some of them are even some native plants, especially the fleabane that actually would be unfortunate to have people remove. So I guess I just wanted to bring this up to the committee, and it doesn't have to be something we spend a lot of time talking on right now, but I basically was just thinking of sending a little bit of feedback about the list on here, maybe some recommendations for things to take off, for things to add. And I guess two questions. One would be who's the best person to send that feedback to? And the second would be if anyone else on the committee has any feedback or might want to add anything or take anything else in terms of this particular list. I know I'm just putting in the chat now, so not everyone had the time to look over it. But so I guess I had those two questions I just wanted to bring up in discussions with other residents on this.
Yeah, I've got it up on the screen share, and I think we should go ahead and put this on an agenda to give it the time it deserves, because I am not, as you all know, a species selection expert, but I would be interested in the conversation around whether these are the ones that we want to encourage residents to just tear out by the root.
Yeah, we could put on a future agenda item if it seems warranted for that. I wasn't sure.
Totally. And I guess, Vanessa, do you know who's responsible for this page? Is that us?
It's PSF, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we can do our advising thing.
Is this something we could write a memo beforehand? Because, just that any origerant species would be considered invasive when it's such a wonderful, wonderful pollinator plant. And I don't think we have any smartweed that's native, but that's a native smartweed that's listed, so that would be silly. So we can do that, right? I mean, I'd be willing to discuss it at a future time, but I was thinking of drafting something.
Yeah, we could draft something to then discuss. That could be done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if anyone's interested in doing the draft, I guess you could let me know, and then we could try to draft something to discuss as a group later.
Cool. I always love working from drafts. All right. Other resident concerns. I had one that there is, and actually I'll save it for when we're talking about tree removal and requests. It's a address that somebody brought up to me. Any other resident concerns before we dive in here? All right, let us do updates from the city.
Sure. So not a whole lot to update you on for city tree removals. We wrapped up our contract a couple weeks ago. We did just receive a new list of bids today for a new contract that we're going to be putting out. So hopefully by the next meeting, I should have a list of removals for you. Again, it's all going to be dead, dying, or hazardous trees that we're taking down.
Awesome. I will mention there is one right around the corner from me. It's the best possible example of how the duties in the city are split, that we've already planted the replacement and the dead tree is still there. And I'm just, I look at that and I know why that, sorry?
Does the tree have an orange dot on it? Do you know?
Yes. It's just absolutely like that's a scheduling thing. I had a question about 26 Wesley. This person cornered me at a barbecue and somehow knew that I was a tree person. And it's apparently a large tree. It's got a split. They believe it could be like wrapped and repaired, but it's becoming hazardous. Is that on a list anywhere?
Probably not, Breck. I can speak to that one.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, Malik has seen that tree in person, and it is not a huge tree, but a sizable tree. It's a red maple. It has a codominant stem that is starting to split. The person was very adamant about cabling the tree instead of pruning it, and that's not something we should do for a tree that size, especially on the street. So we just haven't gotten it onto a pruning contract yet, because I don't think we told Breck about it, but it will need to be pruned, not cabled.
Okay, I will respond to the email that I have, but thank you.
I've been meaning to do that as well, so thanks.
It's always interesting when somebody to be drawn in person into something that has been going on with an email thread. Oh, you're that, Chris. All right, so not much to report. Go ahead, Tori, sorry. You are on
I was
mute
wondering
again.
if this would be an okay time to bring up what's going on with the sycamore on, I forget the name of it, the
37 Walker.
Walker. How that was going, and if there is a decision to be made. And I feel remiss in not reaching out to the mayor, but because I think it would be a bad move to have the precedent of it being cut down, of something like that being cut down. So at a time I can bring this up. Any reports?
I can speak to that also. There's really no news since last time. No decisions have been made. We were doing some more checks of some information and haven't yet followed back up with the mayor with budget season and planting. We've just been pretty packed, so we need to proceed with another meeting.
Do you guys what is your stance currently? And can we be a part of that? Is that something that we can advise on?
I mean, it's really in the mayor's hands now, so if you want to advise the mayor, that's up to you. I still am like torn on this situation, don't have a clear suggestion, so I don't know.
It's a pity when people who own multiple properties in Somerville and they buy a property with a street tree right in front of it that's of that size, and that they purchase the property. I don't think it's, and I'm acquiring this tree because it is my responsibility. But I do not reside at the property. I do not have a relationship with the tree. It is interfering with my foundation. You have 3 properties. You invested in a house in Somerville. That should be an expectation when you purchase a property. Anyway, I'll talk to the mayor. I'll get in contact with him. Thanks.
Anything else about removals? Let's move on to permits and exceptions. I don't see Malik attending. Is anybody else covering that?
I think he's here.
Yeah? Oh, okay. Welcome, Malik.
Hello. I've been doing a lot of field work, so I don't have the sheet up to date, but today we are currently at our 22nd permit, which has just been issued to 278, 280 Beacon Street for the removal of 4 trees, all invasive maples, 3 of which are Norway maple, 2 are undersized, They're all just right next to a fence. So it could have been an exemption for all four, but it ended up being a permit application. So I just went through and issued it.
27, is that on the Cambridge side?
Let's see. Let's hope not. 1 second. Let me get that. Let me be sure that the address is correct.
Because you're in my neighborhood there and I'm going to get calls about it.
Oh yeah, you probably most definitely will. Let's see.
Word has gotten around.
Post. Oh, it's 378. Sorry, 378, 380 Beacon Street.
378.
Yep.
All right. Oh, all the way up by Bicycle Bell.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and you say
Yeah.
they're ragged and undersized and in poor health?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They are not in poor health or ragged or, but they're definitely undersized for invasives.
Okay. All right, and that's on Roseland, which is the contested street where one side is in Somerville and the other side is in Cambridge. And everybody knows you can park there for free.
Nice. All right, so yeah, it's a 6-inch, a 6-inch, an 8-inch, and a 10-inch.
All right, good to know.
Yep. There are some limbo cases that I'm still waiting on trees or mitigation for, and it would be 21 Allen Street. It would be, let's see, 29 Alpine.
All right.
Yep.
Sounds good. And then anything further on planting?
Sure. Well, we've gotten 50 trees in the ground so far this season. So we have 125 to go is the goal. But if it gets too hot, we might have to stop. We're going to proceed till can't go anymore. Anyways, making good progress. You should see a lot of new trees. That list, the first 50 was a lot in wards 1 and 4. So if you're over in there, you might see some. The rest are going in all over the place. So keep your eyes peeled.
Excellent. Any other discussion on the city updates? All right, onward to the DPW tree crew support letter.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So I think all of you are probably aware to some extent of what's going on with the tree crew, but maybe not. So basically, until I'm not sure how long ago, but before I arrived in the city, city had a tree crew under the highway department. The tree crew now is sort of stuck in limbo of a union negotiation, which I believe was the result of us trying to add qualifications to the position of the arborist for tree crews. But my understanding is because we wanted to add arborist certification, which doesn't seem like it should be a controversial thing, but it was. But the upshot is that we right now do not have a tree crew in-house. We're doing all of our work with contractors, which obviously is not ideal. The proposition right now that we're trying to make is to move the tree crew from the highway department to the grounds department, which is also controversial. And I probably won't explain this very well, but it's a seniority issue within the union. So right now, anybody within the highway department is able to bid on those positions when they reopen, and whoever is the senior most highway person that bids will be able to take that job essentially. And so if the tree crew were to move to the grounds department or the grounds division versus the highway division workers would lose their seniority in the bidding process for those positions. And so right now, like I said, the tree crew is kind of stuck in limbo because this seniority issue with the union has sort of become part of a larger union negotiation. Frankly, it's being used as sort of a bargaining chip for other issues, as I understand it. But the argument that we're trying to make right now is that it's logical that the tree crew should be housed within the grounds division, which is where I am, which is where the superintendent of grounds are, because it would allow me to be, it would allow me direct oversight over the tree crew. Whereas if the tree crew remains in the highway division, I'll be able to pass them work essentially, but I wouldn't have any kind of oversight, or, you know, I wouldn't be in charge of the tree crew in any way. And, you know, no disrespect to the highway superintendent, but he's not a tree guy. His priority is not trees or tree care. So, you know, I think it's logical, and it makes a lot of sense for these positions to be within the grounds department, where both myself and my supervisor, the superintendent of grounds, who are both arborists. My supervisor is a certified tree warden, where we'll have direct oversight over the work that's being done and can make sure that it's being done to ISA standards and being done safely and being done in the way that we're prescribing the work. So right now, this is basically up to the city council. It sounds like there is a fair amount of resistance to the idea because of the union resistance. And so even though this sounds like a pretty logical thing that shouldn't be very controversial, I think it is kind of controversial. And so what we're hoping for is for the Urban Forestry Committee to sign off on a letter that will get sent to the city council in support of moving the tree crew over to the grounds department. So I've drafted a letter with Vanessa. I think Vanessa will be able to share it with you. And I'm hoping that you guys can take a look and hopefully sign off on it. You know, I'm open to feedback if there's anything that you want to tweak. But I think the budget, this is going along with the budget hearings, which took place last week. And so I think the final decisions are going to be made relatively soon. So it's something that I'm hoping we can get sent out within the next couple of days. Also tied up with this is I am asking for about a 50% increase in the care of trees budget within the grounds division, which basically our objective right now is to get Somerville into a routine pruning cycle, which is what they do in Cambridge. You know, really kind of best practice. It's what was recommended in the management plan that came out last year. And so getting us to a point where we're kind of doing routine preventive maintenance. And so basically with the budget increase that I'm proposing, we should be able to sort of take care of all of the pending hazardous stuff that we're aware of that was identified by the inventory that took place a couple of years ago at this point. Take care of everything that's pending, and then hopefully have sort of an opportunity to do a fresh start with a routine cycle. And so that is the other side of what's going into the letter. I think that is less controversial. I don't think there really was any objection to that budget increase, but just so you're aware that that is also something that's been included in the letter. So that's
if we're gonna send this, if we're gonna approve it and it's gonna have an impact on the budget, we need to vote on it tonight because the budget gets finalized next week. So could we go back to the top and just like read through what you said? Makes a lot of sense to me. I would like to read through the letter and then have conversation and see if there's anything that anybody thinks is controversial. But broadly, I support the idea of having a sensible org chart and having budgeting as if we were actually going to care for trees in a sustainable, ongoing way rather than in a series of one-offs. So, but
And you guys can see the letter on my screen, right? Okay, good.
Yep. Breck, I got a question for you. If the tree crew from highways divisions gets transferred over into your department and the increase in budget, are you also going to be creating more jobs for more arborists or anything like that?
So it's, I mean, I guess technically they're jobs that already existed and currently are not filled. So it'll be a 2 or 3 person crew. But it's not, I guess it's not job creation because, you know, these jobs they're lines that need to be filled, but it will take these positions out of limbo and you know, let us actually fill those lines.
Great. Okay.
Before we read through this, I just want to make sure I'm understanding, because this is nuanced, right? This is a logical step. Of course, this should be a yes, but you know, I know that the city councilor is very supportive of unions, as I think is the right instinct to go with. I just want to understand. So they don't currently. It's in lights and lines or highway division.
Yes.
Is that right? And they don't want to have to have the requirement of an arborist, having an arborist as a skill or a certificate.
That was the original disagreement, and I'm not sure where we stand on that either, to be honest. But at this point, we're just trying to get the crew, and hopefully we'll be able to have that stipulation. But
Yeah.
I honestly am not
Well,
sure.
I'll be curious to know the city council's sort of like, you know, feelings on wanting to empower unions, but is this a situation where there needs to be more flexibility, or is it a bargaining chip? And also, if we open this up, this does set precedent for sort of like weighing in on, feels like it sets precedent for weighing in on ongoing contracts with unions. And again, this makes perfect sense to me. I support it, and then I also know that there's other things going on. You know, it's not just it's not just the logicalness of this proposal.
And I just want to say for the record, like, these positions within the grounds division would still be union positions, and I believe it's the same exact union. It's not that the union is losing work or anything like that. It's really this issue of seniority for the highway division, which I'm not, you know, I'm not saying that it's an insignificant issue, but I think
Yeah, I would say I agree with Tori's instinct that we should probably at least be sure that we're really, really well informed if we say anything specific about union. I don't see anything specific about union in this letter. It says we should hire a tree crew and they should probably report to the tree warden.
Right. Yeah. The letter says nothing about the union. I think it's important to give you the background on why this is an issue before you sign the letter. But you know, I'm not asking you to weigh in on anything specifically union related, just saying, hey, we think it's a good idea for the tree crew to be within the grounds department, essentially.
But this does feel like a way to circumvent something that the union is trying to do, as in terms of like holding this as a point of leverage. You know what I'm saying? I know it's not overtly saying anything about the unions, but it is in a way it is. I'm fine with it. I mean, this is sort of taking a bargaining chip away from the unions. If that's, I just want to be, I think that's kind of what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
As well.
I'm not sure that I would phrase it as taking a bargaining chip away from unions. We're weighing in with our support for voting one way versus the other, but the union is in the position it's in. I mean, the union is in a bargaining position. We are encouraging the city council to take a different position, but I would in no way say that we're taking their bargaining chip.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's good to know the context. Like, unless we say something about, and I mean, my position, I think it's ridiculous that we have been unable to hire full-time people to care for our trees for years now, and that we're in this situation where you've got to go find the rounds of contracts at substantially higher cost to get, you know, even necessary risk reduction work done. Like, plus minus on whatever incremental chip is in play for the unions, I think we're creating a risk to the city and unnecessary expense by failing to hire these positions. Like, throw that into the balance. Okay, and how many more? Can I see the bottom of the letter?
I have, this is probably a stupid question, because I'm sure if there was a way, you already would have figured it out, but is there no way to maintain the seniority of the highway crew, even if they're transferred over? I mean, couldn't you do both? Or is that, I mean, I assume if you could, you already would have done it, but I don't quite understand why it has to be one or the other.
I'm not in any way involved in the union negotiation, so I really don't know. And I think there is an active negotiation coming or going on, and so it is possible that they come up with some middle ground solution. I don't know. This is all kind of new to me, to be honest.
Does the proposed budget increase also increase pay for the position? Because if there's been such a challenge in getting people in that position, I don't know if that's city mandated, but either, making sure that these positions are well funded if they're required to have additional skills. And then second question, could there be a clause in the job description saying, either an arborist or on a path to becoming one, to encourage people who, haven't had the resources to acquire the certification yet? Could they join the city and then sort of provide upward mobility so it has flexibility within that position and ensures that, you're not going to be on tree crew doing the same work, but there's a path for upward growth within the position to sort of think about long-term sustainability?
Yeah, that's a good question. In terms of the pay, I don't know. I mean, I think it's like a fixed, this is X tier union position, which pays X. So I don't, and that's probably part of the reason that this is controversial, is that you're asking for more certifications for something that does not come with a pay raise. So that I don't know. It's probably part of the negotiation that I am not really in the loop on, but yeah, and I'm guessing, that in terms of encouraging certification, that may be what they arrive at. I'm not sure that we'll be able to actually require it, but like I said, I really am kind of out of the loop on this. I just sort of know the general situation.
And have you already had your budget hearing?
We did, yeah.
Good, okay, because I track those.
Yeah, that was on Tuesday.
That's right, that's right. Okay,
Monday.
yeah, I'm looking at the budget and it is a substantial increase to care of trees, which I can only be thrilled about. And then there's a tree warden, and then the positions we're talking about are probably the foreman and the working, no, are they tree climbers or working foremen, or which of these positions are we talking about?
Tree climber.
Yeah, I think probably 2 tree climbers and a working having the budget.
Yeah, so there's a working foreman tree climber and there's 2 jobs called tree climber. And I remember those from previous year budgets under like the same title. So that I don't see anything at all other than roles that were in highway when the tree warden was a 20% funded position for the director of lights and lines. Those roles moving over to grounds where our tree warden is. Like
that's essentially it. Yeah.
All right. I've read through this while we were talking, and I don't see anything controversial. Does anybody?
Will this lead to a lesser paying position? Like if it were held in the highway division, would that person in the highway division be receiving a larger salary than having this position being switched to grounds? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Is that sort of what the union is? They're going to be losing a position that could be paying a larger amount of money, is now not going to be paying as much amount of money?
It's the exact same positions. It's really just the seniority, the ability to bid those jobs. So the guys who are already within highway would lose their seniority.
But nobody's in those jobs in highway.
What's that?
Nobody's in those jobs in highway.
Nobody's in those jobs in highway. I don't think anybody really wants the jobs within highway, but it's, it's like I said, it's kind of a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, but to answer the question, would it result in perhaps a lesser paying position? Like,
No, to my understanding, it's exactly the same position, exactly the same pay. It's just within a different division, within the same department. It's all public works.
okay.
Yeah, so Tori, if I understand correctly, and my experience with unions is secondhand, but I've been around. It's that the people who are in the union get to bid for placement into particular jobs based on their seniority, and the moving these jobs from one department to another affects that in subtle ways, where the jobs are the jobs and the pay is the pay. But it's the ability of the individuals to influence their own placement into the jobs that are available. So the jobs are paid the same. It is, and I don't understand exactly how that would benefit any particular person who has sufficient seniority to be above. These are laborer 4 and 5 roles. Like, the concern is valid. We don't want to cause harm to anybody's career or compensation. And in this case, I really don't see how it would make a significant difference.
Thank you for being patient. Thank you for that explanation. That clears things, I think.
Yeah. I think
Brett, you're saying with,
go ahead.
sorry, my apologies. You were saying that with the move into your department, you'd be requiring that any arborists have a certification like an ISA or something like that?
I mean, that's the other part of the negotiation, which, that's a whole separate issue. And I'm not sure that we're going to be able to have that requirement or not, but at least if they're within grounds, I'll be the one overseeing the work. So, we're really hoping to be able to get certified arborists. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense to have certified arborists doing tree work. But we'll see. It's, like I said, an ongoing negotiation.
Okay, thank you.
If anyone has any suggested edits, I can live edit this thing.
Could you just scroll to the top one more time? Sorry.
And then grounds was late, and I actually didn't watch the grounds hearing. Did they make any motions to cut or recommendations to adjust?
For the budget.
Yeah.
I actually did not tune in for it either, to be honest with you. But as far as I know, they did not. I think there's support for the budget increase.
Yeah,
I did watch the grounds one. I didn't see the end where they might have made any resolutions, but there were no questions about trees or the tree budget. So I'm
okay.
assuming
Which night was it?
Tuesday.
Monday.
Monday?
It was Monday.
I don't think there were any cut proposals that night. Not for, I think I would have noticed.
Oh, that's
and
right.
I didn't. I stayed
That's
up.
Good. Crystal actually catches the end of these meetings. I tire out. This looks really tight to me. I have no suggested wordsmithing. I think the core of it is the first paragraph. That's the part that will actually get read. Okay. If there's no more discussion, I would suggest that I would move that we approve this.
Second.
Amy, were you speaking or coughing? Okay. So because we're online, we need to do a roll call vote. So I will start with me, or I'll start with Amy Myrtle. And you can also give us a thumbs up.
I'll say approve, yeah.
Breck,
I approve.
no surprises. I approve. Connor Guidarelli,
Approve.
Jeff Clifford,
Approve.
Leigh Grossman,
Approve.
Vanessa McKeely,
Approve.
Tori Antonino.
Abstain.
Thank you. We are unanimous. We have approved this memo. I encourage Breck and Vanessa to get it in front of the city councilors as soon as you possibly can.
I don't know if an abstention means that it's unanimous.
Oh, you abstained?
I abstained, yeah.
I didn't understand that. I apologize. We are not unanimous. We have.
No, jury's out. I don't know.
All right. 8 yes and 1 abstention. I apologize. I misheard you. Thank you for clarifying that. It was 8 yes and 1 abstention.
I will put this on our letterhead as the one change I will make.
Perfect.
That's okay.
All right. I learned a lot there. Thank you. Even without the memo, I have been curious about that situation for a long time. Thank you.
Maybe more information than you ever wanted to know, but
Honestly, that's the kind of stuff that makes things make sense. Where it's like, we have a tree crew, but where are they? Why is that dead tree still standing? Why is there a contract? Like, thank you.
now you know.
All right. Next up is Arbor Day planning. That is, that's
me. Sorry for typing. Okay, Arbor Day. So we've been talking about this a little bit for many months now, but now it's June. So we have decided that a good date for it will be June 29th, which is a Wednesday. We were shooting for Thursdays, but had some conflicts with other city stuff. So that is our proposal. I guess I'd like to make sure that a few people at least would like to attend. But June 29th, 5 to 7 p.m. at Nathan Tufts Park is the goal. Malik and I and Leah will be there at least. And happy to have more helpers. Jennifer has helped put together a bunch of the flyers and stuff. And we're welcome to other activities as well. We are planning to do tree planting. I have 6 tree planting sites at Nathan Tufts Park this spring. So my contractor has agreed to do the actual planting of the trees that day and then leave piles of mulch just like last year we did. So we can show some people how to spread that out and then go to work, I guess, on the other 5 trees. I need to get some materials put together for outreach and making sure people, spread the word. So I'll be sending those along shortly. Any questions?
You said June 29th, 5 to 9?
5 to 7.
5 to 7. Cool.
The one small complication is that at 6 p.m. I think on that day is the envisioning 90 Washington Street public meeting. So if that's going to be a major conflict, then we can either shift and do a 4 to 6 and have people join when they can, or maybe do the Monday of that week instead. Thought, question, comment?
Location is Nathan Tufts Park.
Yeah.
The 90 Washington stuff is a conflict for me, as the committee knows, but Anne might not have heard in past meetings. I've expressed concerns about stuff going on there. But obviously I'm not a committee member. My attendance is not the most essential. But if you have it outside an event at a time when I can make it, then I will wear a mask and I will go.
Anyone
Fine.
else think
I know.
maybe I should not have
It
the
would be,
conflict?
I would have that as a conflict as well. So we could either switch times to earlier or days.
Yeah, I
Alright.
think conflicting, I'm not going to be able to attend, but conflicting with the 90 Washington, I think is a big deal.
Yeah.
So if possible, I can't really say, but that seems like a big deal to me. And I'm going to try to attend the 90 Washington myself. So
I'm hearing that it's a conflict.
Yeah, the 30th was a conflict because of Somerville's 4th of July celebration. So everyone's trying to squeeze everything in June.
yeah.
If we did Monday the 27th from 5 to 7, does anyone know of any conflicts with that?
Is 4 to 6 terrible?
Just trying to
The
think
Mamas
Oh, go ahead.
gardening meeting starts at 6:15, and it's always online, but the Mamas gardening meeting is at 6:15, and I co-facilitate it.
On the 27th, you said?
Every Monday.
Every Monday, yeah, okay. 4 to 6 is also an option then on the 29th. I don't know, I feel like that, a lot of people work 9 to 5, I'm presuming, so it might make the 4 to 5 part kind of low attendance, but maybe that's okay.
Could we do 4 to 7? Like I would be willing to like come at 5 and close at 7, if that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So
'Cause
on Monday,
allowable.
I was flipping back to Thursday with a 4 to 6. But you're talking about Monday, Tori?
Oh yeah, I thought we were talking about Monday.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of, because we don't have a huge amount of content, right? It's not like we have 2 hours of speeches and band. Put the content from 5 to 6, and then if people can come earlier from 4 to 6, they do. And if people want to stay later from 5 to 7, they do. Make a 3-hour window and say, we're gonna do the brief remarks and spread mulch from 5 to 6. Does that make it?
Eat balls all day, yeah.
Am I missing anything or omitting anything important with that idea?
I think that's doable. 3 hours is a lot for like any one person to be engaging people. It's very exhausting. So if we can split it up, I'd be okay with doing a 3-hour window, but I might be kind of like, if it was me, and I will be there, I think the last hour of the 3-hour window plus setup, I will not be very useful.
Okay.
I can be a body.
But it does make sense to have the main event, which would be like a few remarks by you, Vanessa, have Chris read the poem, do the mulching demonstration. Makes sense to have that as a timed event, that where people can expect that at a specific or approximate time.
What if we split the difference to 4:30 to 6:30 with a reading at 5:30 or event at 5:30 so that people can end, operate business hour operations and make their way over, but we could get probably kids out from school or summer activities in the earlier time and then other folks after 6.
I like it.
Seconded.
And this will be Monday, right? We're talking about Monday this whole time, just making sure we're all on the same page.
We're talking about Monday.
Okay. Okay, Monday, June 27th is our Arbor Day, and our event will be 4:30 to 6:30 with the main program portion of the evening at 5:30. Bam.
I like it.
Okay, that works. Okay, well, people who want to do any activities, let me know if you're available that time. I know we talked before about seed bomb stuff, Tori, that you've done in the past. I see Amy is unavailable, which I knew, so we will miss you. Chris, if you're still up for reading the poem or want to pass that duty, I think that was fun, and Malik's gonna find the same or similar poem.
If Malik's willing to find a good poem, I am happy to lend my voice. I'm also happy to hand off responsibility. Either way is fine with me.
I'll be there.
Awesome.
We also have that Arc Wild plug order, which I believe was ordered for Arbor Day. So we have like 400 to 500 plugs to distribute or something like that. Is that correct, Tori?
Yay, yes, I
Great.
think. It's amazing.
Excellent. Will you be able to come that day, Connor?
Yeah, put me down as yes.
Okay. Awesome. It's shaping up, people. All right, well, I'll do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and I will ping you if I need you.
Do you have to put together any like press release, or that's part of your?
That's part of my thing.
I think we have one. Yeah,
we
we
have
have
the
one.
one
We
from
just needed
last
to
year.
fill in the date and time. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, Jennifer put a lot of stuff together, so I have to go through that and see what I need to fill in. But awesome, people.
I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss you.
No, we will miss you.
Sort of bummed about that.
Share photos.
Yeah, I'll record it. Record Chris's
Okay,
voice.
thanks.
All right, so onward, I think, then to Adopt a Tree, where we have kind of a big thing to share.
Yeah, can you all hear me? I
Yes.
just lost my entire screen. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, Adopt a Tree. I can give a quick update on that. If you just bear with me a moment, I had jotted down a few notes.
And I
Sorry.
see that Crystal is still here, which is good because I wanted to show these certificates.
Yeah,
Joy.
lots to talk about with Crystal too. Thanks to Crystal, they sent the adoption certificates in several different languages. They're gorgeous, and I've put them onto a folder in a Google Drive. So in the next email blast that we send to folks, we can, Chris is sharing this screen here. We can point them to we can point adopters to this folder, and they can choose the adoption certificate that best fits their needs. And it's thank you again, Crystal, for doing all of this for us. It's very much appreciated.
Crystal, at their own expense, put this into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 languages, including Ukrainian. I believe we may be the first organ of the city to publish a document in Ukrainian. And we have specifically reached out to at least one family to let them know that they are welcome and a part of our community, which I'm really proud of, actually. So thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. I want to echo that. It just, if I could continue briefly, just at last count, I think it was 2 days ago, the 14th, we have 115 adopted trees. And there have been a few emails asking whether what is required of the adopted tree. So I think that perhaps some of our emails are going into spam. I'm asking people to check their spam, and if they still have questions, to get back to us. So far that seems to be working. I think they're just going into their spam folders. The announcements that we put into the ResiStat and the Sustainable newsletters, we really saw an uptick after those. So I think that was a really useful activity for announcing and pushing the program, to get people aware of the program. And I guess Vanessa is also sharing the announcements with the city councilor as well. So those should be going out in their newsletters sometime soon, maybe in their next newsletters. I think the only other thing I wanted to bring up was, on my end at least, was the tagging issue with the rubber bands. I think we had issues with the bands failing. So I think that the take home for that is that next year we'll go back to the zip ties. But we still have, I think, a really great rate of adoption. So we should be really proud of that. And I would like to kind of pass this off to Amy because she developed a business flyer that we can hand out to businesses. I think, Amy, if you want to talk a little bit about that, I'll hand it over to you. But I might just, before we do that, just say that we got an email from Form Labs, which is a group at 35 Medford Street that had some questions about Adopt a Tree. They're looking to see if there's any trees that will be planted nearby. And I don't know the answer to that, but I wanted to run it, Vanessa, by you before I get back to them. I also can take a look at the ward maps and see if there's anything nearby that they could potentially adopt. They also have a location at Twin City Plaza. So I will respond to their inquiry, but I wanted to ask about any plans for planting near that area before.
35, you said?
35 Medford Street.
Let's see, I don't think. I know we've invited people in the past to just adopt any old tree, even, all trees need love.
Yep, that sort of goes into the standard response, that if there's nothing nearby, please go ahead and take care of any tree that's near you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really anything going in over in that section. There's so much development coming online soon that it's not a focus area right now.
Yeah, but it's great that they reached out and we can kind of maintain communication and let them know to keep an eye out, maybe next year or the year after, that there could be some plantings in that area. So unless anybody has any questions for me about the Adopt a Tree, I'll hand it over to Amy. If that's okay, Amy, to talk quickly about the business flyer and
Sure.
maybe some Caterpillars count info. I'm kind of curious about that. If you have some info on that, I'd be interested to hear it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, for the business flyer, I don't know whoever is sharing the screen if you have a copy of that or not to show, but it's not. It's pretty simple. It just tells just something that we could hand out to businesses that have trees nearby to encourage them. It talks a little bit about the value of trees for health and for businesses in particular, and notes that they'll be given recognition on the website if they adopt the tree. So there's a little bit of recognition for them. It's short. It's just a half page. Right now, we have the English version has been approved. We have to work on getting it translated. That's on me. I have to follow up on that. I have not had time to do it in the last couple of weeks, but we have the English version approved, and I believe Vanessa was getting some copies of that printed. So I think the one question we have is just I know many of you have already walked around and tagged trees, obviously. So sorry to ask you to go out again, but if you're thinking that for this year we could just focus on a few areas where there's a lot of businesses, not trying to reach every single business and have you walk the whole ward again. But if anyone is willing to cover a particular business area, like Davis Square or on Broadway or Union Square or somewhere where there are a lot of businesses and there are some trees that could use adoption, whether they're new trees or older trees, you could reach out to me and let me know. And I might also send out an email just to the group of a list of different areas and just as a reminder to see if anyone's willing to cover any of those, and see if we can get any more businesses involved than we have right now.
That's super timely, actually, because some people would probably want to, might not be as interested in having a tree immediately next to their home for whatever reason. So yeah, it's good to know that that's on offer. We've got a list of trees that need love all over the city.
Yes, yeah.
So somebody stole the, oh, good.
Sorry, it was
Oh, there
me.
it is.
I was
Yes,
trying
thank
to
you.
get the flyer.
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry for not warning you.
All good. I saw my
Yes,
screen.
that's the power.
I do have a bunch printed, and also because of the rubber band issue, I did get extra tree tags printed. So if people are planning to go back out and check on their trees and retag where needed, you can, bring flyers and tags at the same time.
I just want to thank Crystal for their public service. You are a rock star, and I just love what you do. And I think this is monumental what you did, making these certificates of adoption in all these different languages. It's precedent setting. It is welcoming, as Chris said, and just thank you, thank you.
I think y'all are the rock stars. You sign up to do these meetings every month. I just drop in like sometimes and poke at things.
I will just say be careful. There is a notional time limit on the mayoral appointees, and if you're not careful, you're going to find yourself nominated. I speak from experience. Okay, so are we good with adopt a tree? I'm thrilled with how it's going. Go ahead, Vanessa.
I just had one thought, that the trees that we plant now won't get a chance to get adopted till next year, but every time they get planted, Malik and I go and check on the tree and see if it was planted right. So I was wondering if it would make sense for us to do at least some of the tree tagging for adoption at that point.
Do you have access to the list of trees that have been adopted currently that you can, because if you did, you could cross-reference it with the list that you have and see which ones weren't adopted and might need tags again.
Oh, I guess.
And if you don't have access to that, I can send it to you.
I don't think I do, but I mean actually like newly planted trees that aren't on the list that never had a tag.
Oh, I see. Yeah, got it.
So they wouldn't be added to a list till next year. So I don't know if there's like other behind the scenes stuff that I'm not thinking of that makes tagging as we plant not a good idea, but I thought maybe it would save time and effort for everyone.
I assume they already have an address and are queued in.
Yeah.
Sorry, what? I was talking at the same time.
Oh, I assume once they're planted, they have an address.
Yeah.
And would you also put that on there?
Yep. It's the same address that I give you guys the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So that you just do this any time of year rather than doing it just in April, like whenever you plant a tree, you just add the tag right away. That would be another way to do it. It would save us time.
Yeah.
But then we wouldn't go out and do the surveys that we
makes,
do. But.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the survey part's nice. Maybe we can still survey and like the adopt a tree tag signs don't last forever. So maybe it doesn't take the place necessarily of this, or we can see how it goes, but at least it would jumpstart the adoption potentially.
Yeah, I would say if you're willing, I always hesitate to ask you folks to do any more than you already do. But since you already are checking on them, it makes a certain amount of sense. And since the list of addresses comes from you anyway, that's just like, I don't see a downside.
Yeah. So like those 50 you just planted, for example, you go back and check on them and you tag them.
Right. I don't have enough tags to do. We already checked some of those and I have to finish the rest tomorrow, but maybe the next 100 that go in can get tags if I get the new tags in time. I also only got 200 new ones printed, so we won't have enough to retag everything and tag new ones. So this may be maybe a future effort more
and
than this year.
An advantage to that too is that it kind of gets them a jump start, these newly planted trees rather than waiting until next year. one full year before we run the Adopt a Tree program again.
And just to clarify, they will get watered by the contractor, right, for the first year?
They get watered for 2 years, so this is all supplemental. Well, they're supposed to be.
And then just for me, what's the path from somebody adopting a tree to them getting a certificate that's filled in? Is that like on the website that they go to or in the email they get?
Yeah, the idea right now is to put it into an email that they'll get, and we'll have a link that they can click on, and they can go and see, they can get right into that Google Drive folder and choose the language that they wish their certificate to be in. They can print it and fill it out themselves.
Okay, and does that work when you just go in and
That's the initial thing.
Okay. Does that work for, again, like I'm no good for testing IT stuff because I've got all the tools. Does that work for sort of a normal computer to double click in on a document and fill it and print it?
Yep, it should. Yep. And if it doesn't, they'll let us know. And I think ideally it would be great if we could get these things automatically filled in and automatically sent. We just aren't there yet. That's like, this is like our initial run at this.
If I may, one thing that I would suggest is that somebody like automatically or preemptively put their signature in the like committee member line so that people aren't downloading it and saying, oh, but now how do I get it signed?
Right, that's a good idea.
Member.
Yeah, yep, that's a good idea.
I should bounce. Much love to y'all. And I will talk with probably Chris or Vanessa offline about locating a baby tree. And thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you, Crystal.
And just real quick, so if someone signs up and they put in an address, do they automatically get an email, like once they officially adopt a tree to, like, will they be notified, or is it like once a month you send out an email? You know what I mean?
They get an initial email, but the adoption certificate information was not in that because they weren't finished yet. So it'll have to go into the next email, and they get reminder emails for hot weather email reminders.
Okay. But if we end up putting up new tags now and someone signs up, they will get that initial, this is what you've done by adopting a tree email. This is what we expect, or this is what you can contribute. Okay, great.
Yep.
And then we talked about getting the certificates on the website. Do we think I saw the announcement about the Adopt a Tree program. Do you think we can add those to that page so we could link people right to the website?
Yes.
Do
we want to do that? We just want to have the PDFs available for download.
That would be great.
Okay, because then people can
for folks.
Print out they could print out a certificate without adopting a tree if they really wanted to be malicious.
I mean, play it out. How bad does that get?
Right.
They waste their own paper.
They waste paper, and maybe they put a mocking nickname for a rival, and then that rival is spuriously said to have adopted a tree. I don't think it gets very bad.
Right. Okay. Vanessa, if I send them to you, can I just send them to you then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess maybe once it's signed or something.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that either Chris or Tori should sign them. I don't know who's showing the screen, but if you scroll down to the bottom, that's Crystal was talking about the signature.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do the little digital signy thing and send this back. And I would just say Chris Vaughn and Tori Antonino co-chairs.
Yeah, okay. So I'll send them, Chris, Tori, and Vanessa, I'll send them to you, and you can do all of your thing.
Okay. Yeah, I can crank through these 8 and just put it so thorough. It's a real digital signature, so that's one where I'm happy to do that, and then I'll send the files back to, I guess, Jennifer and Vanessa, and then they'll be good.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I'll
Sounds
do a
great.
batch.
Thank you.
I'll do a batch of emails to adopters with the updated link once it's on the website.
Yeah, thanks, Leah. That'd be great.
And then we'll have a bunch printed for Arbor Day celebration as well, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right. Well, next up, we've got outreach.
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry. I wanted to quickly hear about the caterpillars count. Do we have any info on that, Amy?
I mean, I don't have any new data, just
Okay.
think maybe we've had maybe 15 people sign up at this point. So yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at any of the data they've been collecting yet. It just started, but there are, you know, a small number of people have signed up this year.
But it's increased since our last meeting, so
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still not a
Thank
ton,
you.
but yeah, a little bit more.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything new on outreach? Is there anything about outreach that is other than these specific ongoing work updates? Because we could, I like having it as a standalone thing to let us talk about whatever, but all of these actions started as outreach.
Right. Yeah, there will be some outreach activities that will pick back up again in the fall that we can put on the agenda specifically, or we can leave the outreach on there. That's up to you, how you want to handle that.
I actually went and I looked at how other committees handle their agendas, and some other committees just have this incredibly generic and formulaic agenda that lets them sort of talk about the work of the committee. I like the way we've been doing it, so we get a reminder to talk about specific things. But it's also totally cool to always have outreach on there. Anything else specific on that item? All right. Tree species selection and planting. And if I read my email right, we have big news there. Right, I'm ready.
That's right.
Yeah, we're planting this weekend.
Oh, cool.
We have 4 trees going to be going into pits along Broadway, starting at 890 Broadway, 898 Broadway, and then just off of Broadway at 1 Watson and 2 Dixon. They'll be planting a Australia virginiana, Quercus bicolor, Quercus palustris, and Atilia americana. And I'm going to be going out Saturday early morning. The earliest I can pick up plants from Native Plant Trust for the order is 9 a.m. And we have a lot of plants that need to get into the ground, which is where we need all of your help. We have it's going to be a very dense, diverse, herbaceous covering, plus we have some fencing and other information that'll be going around all these pits, and we got to get in the ground at least over 150 plants on Saturday. So it's going to be a good day. So I believe planting would be starting, or organizing would be happening at around 10 o'clock or so. Kind of getting a lot of the hardscaping equipment and things like that, hardscaping infrastructure like the fencing and all that situated, prepping the pits for plants, and then plants will be dropped off by me, and then we can all put them in the ground and get them watered, and it's very exciting.
And the number on Broadway was 3 what?
Yeah, I can read those again. So 890 Broadway, 898 Broadway, 1 Watson, 2 Dixon.
Just to clarify, those 2, 1 Watson and 2 Dixon, that's the address of the house, but the plantings are actually on Broadway.
Excellent.
Okay. Awesome.
And I think we're going to plan on starting at the 890s because it's closer to the corner. And so we can meet. I'll probably go out or plan to go out a little bit earlier so we can start getting things organized and drink some coffee. And so, yeah, I think this is our solicitation for people who want to come help. I think we'll probably also do it into, because they're about a mile away, but there's two sites that are on the same block in both locations, and those are about a mile away. So I assume we'll do one and then the next, but depending on how many people we have, we could all meet and then divide and conquer. So what are people's Saturday mornings like? And I think right now we have myself and Connor. I believe Tori will be out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wish I could come. I'm already running an event at Leslie all day though, but this sounds really fun. I'm sorry I can't be there.
You should just bring your event. Just let them join in the fun.
It's a giant dome. I don't know I could fit it.
Ooh. All right, well, we'll be out there having a blast, and we'll probably also down the road get, once we figure out what our watering scheme will be, we might reach out and have folks help us sort of check in on them, since it's going to be a lot more than just trees. We'll have gator bags out there, and we're going to put out, Chris, I sent you an email with our modified adopt a tree sign, if you could pull that up.
Oh, sure.
We're going to post these on the fences to try and get people to adopt them, and then we'll also use the adjacent business email. I think those might work well. There's a flower shop right in this Potterhouse Square, and so I thought they might be excited. Maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, try and get folks help us look after these once they're in the ground.
I am fighting with GoToWebinar, which wants to be on top of all the other windows.
Always not a problem. So there you go. So yeah, Connor wrote up this great blurb and just explains a little bit why we're doing what we're doing.
All right, and do we have a laminated version of this that we're gonna like zip tie to fencing or something?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so we'll print it again. And I'm thinking if we have access to that green paper, that'd be nice to keep everything sort of uniformly branded for the year. And we'll be attaching those to the trees.
This is fantastic.
And Connor has offered to laminate them as well, which is great.
And you've got a higher res logo than Crystal used.
It also might be the program and the exporting process. But yeah, that was the logo that was on the one that I had access to at some point.
All right, looks great. I'm
This
totally
looks great. I love this.
I'm totally impressed that we're getting away with this, by the way. Just like planting proofs of concept on city property. This is cool.
And we're breaking the law, which is kind of fun.
Can I ask a
What? You're not breaking the law.
No, the ordinance requires a minimum 2-inch caliper tree when going into the ground. So yeah, I don't know if we needed a variance, but
is that a recommendation or
sure.
requirement?
I think it's a requirement, but I think this is I think we're doing the right thing.
It's policy, but we made sure we put them on wide sidewalks so we have no ADA conflicts. The branching is usually for that.
Somebody
I did
had
want to mention a few things, and we can get into details offline if we need to. BAP folks, I have supplies that I need to deliver. I can definitely stop by, but I have 2 little children, so hanging out on Broadway is not a good idea, so I can't help too much. If you could send me a copy of this, Leah, the flyer, just so I have it on hand. And then the other thing I thought of when we're dealing with some fencing around some trees elsewhere on Broadway that are restricting parking, like people can't get out of their vehicle. So I didn't think about this too much before, like in the design, but you need to be really careful about making sure people can still open their doors. And if that means you have to shift the fence a little bit, you might have to do that, like away from the curb line. So that might just take some experimentation. Because yeah, I think the fence will be too tall for people to be able to open their door. There is also an extra tree well was cut at 894 Broadway, which is where I will be planting a tree with my contractor. DPW cut an extra tree well. I don't know why they did that, but they just saw it and went for it. So ignore that giant pit. And as they were cutting one of the wells, I think it's the one closest to Dixon, there was like an asphalt patch or something, so it was crumbling. So right now the tree pit looks like an L shape almost. Just imagine that it will be a 3x10 and they are gonna fix it later. So don't plant in the extra spot.
Yeah. I learned an interesting thing observing the ongoing struggle across the street from me in tree well pit cutting and repair, that apparently DPW is having challenges getting high grade concrete. The crew came out to relay a sidewalk panel, and what came out of the cement mixer was just soup. And the guys were like, this has been happening all the time, and they rescheduled for next week. So I think it's rough in DPW right now. All right. Well, that is awesome. Go ahead.
Well, before we move on, Leah, I wanted to ask about the logo. If we take, so the logo that we used for the Adopt-A-Tree was a PNG file that Althea had sent. Do you have something that you can use to make it clearer? If I send that to you, or you obviously have it, can we get something on a file somewhere where we can use that higher quality version of our logo?
Yeah, I want to make sure if we put it on the certificate, we'd want to make sure that you keep all the fields. I'm not sure how they made this, but I could definitely put it on top.
But or maybe even just moving forward, if we could have some high quality logo that we can use for all of these things that we want to send out.
Yeah, and on the shared Google Drive for urban forestry, I think it's just in there. I'll make sure though. It's like deeply embedded in the Adopt-A-Tree flyer. You have to like click in and then click in again, and then like get to a folder that says links.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I can dig it up and share it with folks.
Yeah, thanks.
My inclination is to not make more work on this year's forms, but then just going forward.
Yeah, but just to have it.
Yeah.
Just to have that nice, clear logo would be great in the future.
This just looks amazingly professional. Thank you. Somebody cares about
Vanessa. Vanessa, I saw you reached out for, to the list we have for volunteers for the tree pilot program, but I noticed there wasn't a time. So I was wondering if you could send that again. And I was going to ask you guys to say the times again of when we start and where we're going to be first, just so when I try to recruit people. I don't know if I got it right.
Yeah, Tori, I think planting or organizing at 890 Broadway to start.
Yep.
People gathering at 10 a.m. and I should hopefully be back by 10 a.m. or 10:30, but there's plenty of things to do in between 10 and 10:30. Yeah, there's also while we're still on it, I think, Vanessa, if you were to drop off the extra items at my place, since the compost is already here, what I can do Saturday morning, I can stage it in my driveway. So either Leah or Vanessa can swing by and grab all the supplies. So while I'm coming back from Native Plant Trust with the plants, they already have all the supplies that they need to be staging the compost at each cutout, and also all the other materials to start prepping for caging and whatnot. If that sounds good to Leah and Tori.
Yes, that sounds good to me. I can definitely pick stuff up from your place and get it situated.
Okay.
And then we should just talk offline, if it'll just be us three, about if we're gonna do one, do one together and then split up, because we probably don't want to leave a bunch of this stuff on the sidewalk if we're going back and forth. So maybe we start at 890s and do those first and figure out how to keep all our plants cool before they get in the ground.
Right.
But I think the weather's definitely on our side.
Can I suggest that you also, I know Murphy isn't here tonight, but I was thinking if you could reach out to her, she might be interested in doing something like this, and maybe she's expressed interest before in engaging some of her friends, and maybe you could get some help that way.
That's a great idea. We'll reach out.
Looks like you all might get rained on.
Perfect.
Perfect.
That was some authentic enthusiasm there. All right. Well, cool. I have no updates whatsoever on the tree preservation ordinance. I know we've been intending to put in work on that. It just budget season has killed my capacity to think about city stuff. Only thing remaining is to approve the minutes. Has anybody not had a chance to review them? They came in pretty late before the meeting. Would anybody like an extra month to read? If you don't say you want more time, I'm going to move to approve these tonight. All right, I'll move to approve them tonight. Can I get a second?
Second.
Go ahead.
Second.
All right, cool. So I'm going to call names. Amy Myrtle.
I move to approve.
Nice. Breck Miller.
I approve.
I approve. I'm Chris Vaughn. Connor Guidarelli.
Approve.
Jennifer Clifford.
Approve.
Leah Grossman.
Approve.
Spokili.
Approve.
And Tori Antonino.
Approve. Best minutes in town.
I believe, if I heard everybody correctly, that was unanimous. Anybody object to that? All right, we've approved the minutes. That completes our agenda for the evening. Anything in closing before we move to adjourn? All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
I feel like we can forego the roll call on that. Thank you everybody for another great meeting. This is a lot of huge progress. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the beautiful weather, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you, Chris. Everybody.
Thank you.